Rumor has it Chris passed out while doing that take.
Oh, if we're gonna do that, but then I should do it for much longer.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Do you want to start with Thunderball?
No.
Great, me neither.
Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week.
So we watched Saw, finally.
That's true. What do you mean finally?
I feel like
you were pining for it for a while?
I feel like I have been. I feel like I've been trying to get you to watch Saw for a long time, and you're like, no.
Yeah.
Saw ain't going to be any good. And I went, I remember it being pretty good.
Yeah. You know what?
I feel like we might be flipped right now.
It feels a bit like, I feel like the next bite. All right, let me take a step back. Just watched The Matrix with my partner, Emily. And I was like, she's like so horny for like, gotta watch Matrix 2, you know, and I'm like, I'm telling you, the next one's not so good. I haven't seen them, but like I've just heard not so good, you know, so
I think
like.
there's werewolves in the second one.
Never mind, we're watching it. That's so cool, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But I was telling her like, there was a whole slew of movies that wanted to be The Matrix, and we should watch one of those, like Equilibrium, because I have fond memories of Equilibrium when I was a child.
Is
like,
that the one with Gun Fu?
And Christian Bale.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And so what I'm trying to say is I'm relating to that by saying this thing made me genuinely curious about the Human Centipede.
Really?
That's a big like break in case of emergency podcast movie, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if we paid $14 even to promote it on Instagram, I'm sure that would be a good one to.
Yeah. I think we'd have to do all of them.
You think so?
Yeah, because no one wants. Everyone knows about the Human Centipede.
Yeah. Well, what if from this point on, every week we do a Human Centipede and a James Bond?
I'd really rather not, because I've seen the first two and I've skimmed through the third one.
Yeah.
The first one's like exactly what you think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's just gross out.
I gotta see it.
Shock horror, and you're
I gotta see it.
Okay, well,
Nick, I gotta see it.
I'm giving you my review real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
It's gross, shock out horror. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. And when it's over, you're like, that wasn't, high art, but it was, it was
visceral.
An experience. It was visceral. It was an experience, and it did its job. It was great.
Yeah.
The Human Centipede 2 is a movie I don't think I can ever watch again.
That gross or that bad?
Gross. I remember it really fucking me up for a while.
Yeah.
I was in high school when it came out, but like.
So what if I watched it and we just talk about it from that perspective?
Okay, yeah.
I fill you in.
I'd be down for that, for sure.
Less movie to watch? Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's fair. Again, yeah. I mean, I know there are way bigger cinephiles out there, and I never have claimed to be one, although I have been called one, and I will say that, yes, sometimes watching 2 movies over the course of 2 weeks is taxing.
Yeah, sometimes.
Because usually it's like you got to jam them into the first week, so the second week you can find time to record the thing.
You know what's annoying? What sucks about it, though?
What?
Is we have to watch these 2 movies every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In between those 2 movies, I probably watch like 4 or 5 movies.
Yeah.
They're just on, and like I'm not really paying attention to them. But
Yeah.
like, I could definitely make time for 2 movies in a week, and it shouldn't be that taxing, but it is. Anyway.
All right, but anyway, let's get to the movie. So Saw came out in 2004. The guy, Adam. And then there's a doctor named Lawrence or something?
Yeah, Larry.
Wow, Larry Lawrence. Beautiful name. And there's also, they wake up in the Saw bathroom. Well, you know what? Well, actually,
what's your history with Saw?
Yeah. What's your history with Saw?
I saw it.
When?
I don't know. I saw it. I know for sure I saw it at Jake Evilsizer's house.
Yeah.
Because that's where all my horror experiences were. I think I watched the first 2.
Nice. Back to back?
Yes.
Nice. Double barrel.
And I also remember, because as the movies go on, they become like lore on top of lore on top of twist on top of twist on top of big twist on top of big twist.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch them all, baby.
I remember the second one coming out, and like my sister's boyfriend at the time had saw it, and like she had some friends over, and I heard him explaining it to everybody.
Mansplaining Saw.
Yeah,
baby.
and I was like, yeah, shout out Drew, cool guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, it sounds like the coolest movie I've ever seen.
Right.
And yeah, so I watched the first 2, and the second one I remember being better. but also I thought this one was really good. And it
Yeah.
didn't really, but I'm rambling. Anyway,
Sure.
I know all the lore. I for sure watched 2 different like video analysis of the entire series.
Are we gonna lock in and should we do James Bond and Saw until it's over?
I really don't think it'd be worth it.
Oh God.
I mean,
Okay.
let me think.
You're really busting up my suck down an entire movie franchise hot dog boner that I have right now.
Okay, you might get me to change my mind by the end of this. But I know how they all end.
Yeah.
So they're fun. They're those kind of movies where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to watch all of these, but I'll for sure listen to someone else talk about
Yeah.
watching all of them. But yeah, I have always thought, oh, the first Saw is pretty good despite the rest of them. And then we watched it the other day, and I gotta admit, I was a little let down.
I'm gonna say that I don't still stand by this. I'm talking about like my experience up to this point. I've always heard the torture porn thing and just been like, nah, I'm gonna die on this hill. We don't need that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not into that. I don't want that in a horror. I want like werewolves and vampires and like spooky shit. I don't really need torture porn, Even though I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
But it's kind of, you see where I'm like connecting those two dots. But anyways, so I was kind of like, I don't know if that's like what I'm looking for. That's always been my opinion of the Saw thing. Now that I've seen it, I will say it's interesting, like the low budget DNA of it, because I'm not saying. Let me start off by saying, I guess like probably because it's my first Saw experience. I would say generally positive towards Saw, though it's not my favorite thing in the world by any means. But also, I mean, just objectively, like, there are a couple of scenes of just, like, cops running through, like, brick hallways where I'm like, this is super close to The Room.
Yeah.
Almost. Like, I feel like I'm almost watching something like The Room.
Yeah, like they do, like it's so low budget.
Yeah.
That there's not a car chase in this movie.
Yeah.
There's the idea. There's the David Lynch feeling of a car scene of a car chase for a minute. Yeah.
Like another example is like anything at the doctor's house. His wife is not a very good actress, and that house is not a real house. Nobody's ever lived anywhere there besides Tommy Wiseau in The Room.
Yeah, no, that house is
Tommy Wiseau's house.
It's Tommy Wiseau's house, which is also Jigsaw's laboratory,
which is also the car garage.
Also probably the bathroom if we're getting real.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that to like slam dunk on it. I don't mean to like Kane choke slam it in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, this movie's made for $1 million.
Yeah, no, for what it does with that, I mean, it's really. I will say, there are things that I like about it for sure. Obviously, I love Danny Glover.
Who doesn't?
Super cool to see him there. When I was a kid, I saw Predator 2 and the back of my head blew right off.
Is that the one where they give him the old gun?
I can't remember. Yeah, I think so. I think they respect him at the end.
Yep,
and then there's the ship at the end with a bunch of skulls and stuff. And then there was a PlayStation 2 game called The Predator Concrete Jungle, and I loved that. That was my shit. Predator was my guy growing up.
I just really couldn't care less about him as a kid. I don't know why.
Yeah, he just looked badass.
I thought the exact opposite. I was like, he's yucky. I don't want anything to do with him.
That's how I felt about the Xenomorph. I was like, what the fuck is this big ass bug bitch? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I know. I remember I'd like go to friends' houses and they'd have Alien and Predator action figures, and I'm like, Spider-Man, we're gonna stay away from them, okay?
But yeah. So anyway, Saw. I will say, I like the twist of Lawrence and Adam. Are intertwined. Mm-hmm. That was fun. Once you get to that point. I will say, I mean, I said it during the movie, and I'm sure a million people have said it before me. I'm not plugged in. All right, I'm blue pilled on this. Sure.
Okay,
yeah. For sure, this is like, and I mean this respectfully. I'm happy. This is one of those things where, like, I feel like so clearly, like you could probably point to 2 or 3 other things, but like one of the biggest things is like my man saw that Fight Club scene with the gun to the back of the Asian guy's head and was like, yeah.
That's a movie.
That's doing something for me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the dying man who's just like, nobody appreciates life. I'm going to show them how to appreciate it. That kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. We get, I think, like 3, really? 3? Like kind of torture murders in this?
Oh yeah, traps and stuff. Yeah.
I'm going to start also by, I know I'm probably jumping all over the place. I'll start by saying he doesn't actually kill his victims, he gets them to kill themselves thing. I get it, but also hogwash. This guy's going to prison.
It's poppycock for sure.
No, for sure.
Yeah, hey, Chris, if you talk someone into killing themselves...
you killed
that person.
Yeah, for sure. His red robe with the black and it's red underneath, hogwash.
Crazy. That he came up
Same
in that
thing
elevator.
with the little puppet.
The puppet's fine.
I don't think you need any of that, though. It's like a movie thing.
Yes.
Like, those are the things when I was watching it where I was like, that's what keeps it from being a little too fucked up.
Yeah.
If that shit was out of there, if that corny shit was out of there, it was just like real rugged.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have been a franchise.
That's what you can put on T-shirts and posters.
Exactly.
And action figures next to Jason Voorhees and stuff like that. Yeah.
So that was the shit that like was the the like marketing genius. But definitely thought it was a little corny, tacky. But yeah, so the three that we get though, we get the guy who tried to kill himself by slitting his wrists, and he has to crawl through barbed wire.
Yeah, and
supposedly for hours. That's horrifying and awful.
Yeah, Jigsaw says, "Oh, you're just smoking a cigarette? How about you smoke a whole carton of cigarettes?"
Yeah,
basically. And especially with him, like, and he's helping people with their lives because they've done something wrong, and now they have to like redeem themselves or whatever. It's like, that guy tried to kill himself, okay, and then the other girl is a drug addict?
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
All right, and Dr. Larry.
Cheated?
Yeah. We're not sure. And also, Adam... Not sure what Adam did. I don't remember.
Oh, he called him a voyeur and told him he needs to start living his own life and stop living through other people's lives.
Oh, because he's a private detective?
But also, he doesn't like seem to have a social life or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's hogwash. Yeah, you're right. That's the hoggest of all washes.
Yeah, but so you get the drug addict who's hooked up to the jaw exploder or whatever. It looks like a brain exploder. He said that it rips your mouth open, but it just exploded the marble.
Yeah, no, that is strange. Like, because it's this big contraption. He goes, think of it like a reversed bear trap.
And then it just goes,
oh wow, and just something just explodes. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be. What I was supposed to take away from that?
Maybe it was like too graphics. They had to just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess.
But
it was a blank head. Yeah.
But what's worse than that though is that she has to cut into a guy who's still alive, high as hell, like dying of a damn heroin overdose. She doesn't know that.
Yeah, and
he tells her the key out of his belly.
Yeah, he tells her that he's dead. And I'm like, isn't that like... I feel
that's enough.
That would be the opposite of this test. I feel like the test would be like, there's another heroin addict over there. The key's in his stomach. He's not dead. Do you think your addiction's easier to... your addiction means more than his or whatever? But no, she just lied. Yeah. He just lied to him.
And then the final one is the one we get the whole movie, right? That's the only other one we got?
No, there's a guy with the candle.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah, he's covered in flammable liquid.
I like that one.
And he's like, put all these numbers on the computer, buddy.
Yeah, there's the combination of the safe is written on the walls, but also... You got to use it with a candle. I don't remember how that really works.
Something about he has to like use all the letters, like program the words and the letters until you can figure out what the combination is somewhere in there in the program. Because he's got a laptop. He's like putting all the shit into a laptop.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought he was because she said see if you could program this. I thought.
I don't remember that at all.
Okay.
I remember him having a little candle and going up to all the numbers.
Yeah.
And then when he finds the right numbers, it's just the combination to a safe.
Okay.
But he blows up before any of that happens.
He drops it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well let me give this a brief skim while you keep talking to see if I can find anyone putting any numbers into it.
Sure, yeah, go ahead. So the main thing is you got Dr. Lawrence, he's chained up in a corner.
Oh no, it was the guy that we think is Jigsaw the whole movie, but it turns out that he's just doing his own Jigsaw trap.
What?
The guy that we recognize, the orderly from the hospital? The guy that, like, is kidnapping the wife and daughter?
Yeah,
him. He's not Jigsaw. He's doing his own Jigsaw thing. Jigsaw has him. This is his Jigsaw trap.
Yeah.
So he's probably the one putting numbers into computers and stuff like that.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
And I think
I remember a naked man covered in oil putting numbers in a computer, but I could be tripping balls.
Okay.
All right. But anyways, yeah, so Adam's over in the corner. Lawrence is over in the corner. They're chained up. They wake up and it's like, oh God, how did I get here? Doctor's cool, calm, collect. Adam's losing his shit. And slowly they get all these like little cluey hints. You know, there's like a dead body in the middle of the room with like a gun and a tape recorder. You know, Adam, he's like in the bathtub and you see the key go down the drain, but he doesn't know that.
How is he supposed to get out of that one? How does that
How is he also breathing though? Because he's like underwater, I thought, when it starts.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Jigsaw's like, okay, this will put him to sleep for exactly a minute.
Yeah. So I don't know what's up there.
But also, it seems like Dr. Larry's been awake for a while.
For a while, yeah.
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 That's a great
Because he wakes
question.
up and he's like crazy ashy. His lips are all dry and he's like, nah.
This man is a
time.
ghost by the end of this movie. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy.
And, whatever. They, like, the lights are off. They turn the lights on or something.
Yeah.
They dig in the toilet.
Unnecessarily, he digs in the wrong part of the toilet.
In the shit part.
Because they get the tapes. They find they have tapes in their pockets.
Right, and a bullet. One of them has a bullet.
Yeah, and they get the tape recorder, and he listens to it. And he's like, wait a second. And he rewinds it. He goes, listen. And it just goes, and that's how you play the game. Follow your heart.
Yeah.
It's like, that was awful. I hated that.
Right, yeah.
And so...
There's a heart on the tank.
Written in doo-doo.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, I guess it's got to be in the poop. And then it's not. And he like...
If I were Jigsaw laying there dead, I would have started laughing.
I would have gotten
I don't
up,
have the fortitude to surpass that. I'd have been like, oh, fuck no, buddy. Fuck
Give me that bullet. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, I'd have been like, yeah, get out of the chain, buddy. You can go home now.
Adam, you're staying for sure.
Yeah.
And he takes his hand out of the poop.
Yeah.
And then instead of like, I don't know,
Doing anything about it.
finding running
Wiping it
water
off,
anywhere,
yeah.
putting it into the back of the tank
Bathtub.
where there's even cleaner water.
Or the
he goes,
bathtub.
Or the bathtub. He goes, ugh, and shakes his
it off.
hand everywhere
Yeah.
and just gets poop everywhere
Yeah.
and has it on his hand for presumably the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty nasty.
Awful.
So, yeah, so they're in there, I don't know, like...
They find series
a saw.
2 saws in a plastic bag.
They try to saw through the chains that don't work.
Also in the plastic bag are all the photos that he took of Dr. Larry.
True, but we don't find that out till much later.
True.
I feel like we don't even see it till much later.
True.
Larry shows off pictures of his kids in his wallet, and then there's the hog-tied photo. We also get the flashback, which I know who Jigsaw is. I know his name's John or whatever. So like when they were doing the little thing in the beginning of the exposition thing where he's like, all right, this is our patient John. Oh, getting a page. I was like, yeah, okay, I see this from a mile away, And
When
he's a brilliant man. I was like, yeah, he's a brilliant man who does just jigsaw puzzles. Yep, I know.
When he was like, and this guy's got just crazy tumors all through his brain. I was like,
that's the guy.
I was like, that's strange. I don't know why why would you be doing? This feels weird to say in front of the guy, and I didn't even think about it. And in the flashback where they showed him in the bed, I went, oh, they got me. I know this. I've seen this movie, and they got me.
Yeah. And then the other thing is when he's doing the abductions and he puts on the pig mask thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's also not necessary. He didn't have to go Slipknot mode,
Oh yeah, that thing's in all.
Stay pulled shut.
Absolutely.
Also, I think he got brain tumors. How are you so agile? Any kind of old decrepit man?
I would guess.
It's the other guy?
Yeah, Pig Mask is other guy.
Okay.
Could be. And yeah, he's an old crippled man with brain tumors, so.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, I don't know. I got nothing for you.
Yeah, that's all right. We get a little bit into Lawrence's life. Yeah, he's a cop. Not a cop. He's a damn doctor.
He's a cancer cop.
He's got a wife. He's got a kid. And so there are a couple of things that are genuinely pretty spooky to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the abduction scene for Adam's pretty spooky. I think the one with Lawrence isn't too bad. And then the final one that I would say is probably the top scare for this one to me is the little girl being like, "There's a man in my room," and then there actually being a man in the room. Yeah,
I feel like if your kid says, "I'm afraid there's a monster under my bed," or "I'm afraid of the spooky man," but if your kid goes, "There is a man in my closet," I go, "I am taking your word for it. Come out here. I'm gonna go ahead and check." Yeah, and also he's like, "Oh,
one moment I'm headed to the gun store."
Yeah. He's like, oh, I can't. I keep thinking about the last thing I said to my daughter.
What the fuck was it?
I don't know. I think he was just like, I have to go to work. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then left after he read her a bedtime story or some shit or the three.
He has a long conversation with her where he's like,
"Oh, he left
darling.
to go bang his secretary."
Yes.
Yeah, that's why. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, yeah, he's like, but Daddy does whatever. She lays down after she's like, "There's a man in my room," and he turns the light, and then she's like, it says something from the closet where he's like, "Oh, shush it, little girl, and sleep good." Whatever he says. He says something through the slit.
Okay, I don't remember that, but for that guy who's like, yeah, and there's that part where he's just like waving the gun in front of him and stuff like that. He's Why is he doing that? We know that he's not doing
this. Yeah, exactly. As an audience, they're trying to make you think that it's the murderer.
He's doing it for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
It doesn't make sense for the character, but it makes sense for the camera to make you think that it's Jigsaw.
And it did make me laugh when the mom opens the door and he's standing there with the sheet over him for some reason. It was very funny.
Pretty good. I will also say Danny Glover is the cop who was real close to busting the case, but he got so obsessed with it they kicked him off the force after he got his throat slit like Enzo or whatever. From
he gets Assassin's Creed.
2 years before Assassin's Creed happens in Saw.
Yeah, he's got the hood and
the wrist blade.
The wrist blade.
Thing,
They call it the Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, but it's the Saw.
It used to be called the Saw 1.
But now it's cultural appropriation, I think is what that's called.
But yeah, so he Enzo's a guy in the throat, and then he destroys another man's head.
Yeah,
his partner, Danny Glover's partner.
I gotta be honest, this is the laziest trap I think is in this movie.
Is it just a big spike?
He runs through a tripwire, and then over the doorway are like 6 shotguns just pointed down.
Oh. That's a lot of guns.
Yeah, I think you find out, spoilers, in a later movie that Jigsaw's an engineer. He really phoned this one in, I'd say.
Yeah, well, this one he also has the thing where the guy's going to get double drilled if they don't stop it. Mm-hmm. But my boy just shoots off the drill bits.
Yeah, and
like a baller.
I feel like, hey, Danny Glover, shoot this goth boxer in the knees and be like, tell us how to turn off the machine, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying play good cop, bad cop, but there's 2 drills going at a guy's head.
But play at least cop in general, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, he gets kicked off the force, and he just decides that he's going to live across the street from Lawrence and just spy 24/7.
Yeah, because he thinks it's him because it's his assistant who's been leaving shit behind.
Yeah.
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 And his Jigsaw's assistant, yes, but I meant Larry's assistant at the hospital because he works there. That's why he has his pen.
Yeah.
And then I felt like you were going somewhere and I interrupted you.
Nah, I'm kind of all over the place today. I don't know. Adam and Lawrence fight?
Yeah, they do. When he finds the picture in his wallet.
Yeah.
The entire time, it never really materializes at all.
Yeah.
But them being kind of against each other while in there and getting turned against each other.
Yeah.
When he takes the picture out and it says something on the back, you'll look what you're finding for in the dark or something like that.
Yeah, the X marks the spot.
And he takes a picture and he puts it away and goes, yeah, that picture's not in here, and throws his wallet back. I was like, what's he planning? What is the one-up he's getting here?
Yeah.
And I do really, really like later where he's like, it was on the back of this picture. He goes, why don't you show it to me? And he's like, it's a picture of your wife and daughter gagged and bound. Why would I show that to you? I'm like, I like that. I like that actually quite a bit. Yeah.
It was pretty good. And so basically what ends up happening is the wife and kid get the one-up on Jigsaw's assistant, his Igor.
The guy from Lost.
Yes, and Danny Glover busts in because he saw the gunshots going off across the street because he was spying, and he starts chasing the assistant. The assistant leads him, stupidly, back to Jigsaw hideout.
Mm-hmm.
He chases Jigsaw assistant pretty much, I think, into the room, but...
Almost.
Jigsaw assistant kills Danny Glover.
Yeah, and from my memory, the way he does it is when Bugs Bunny takes Elmer Fudd's gun and bends it backwards and he shoots himself.
Yeah.
I feel like that's basically what happens to Danny Glover.
Yeah. Fair enough. And then Lawrence eventually, because he's on the phone with his wife and kid the whole time, gets so distraught about the situation they're in because of his sex actions that he saws through his foot.
Yes.
Finally.
They realize earlier.
Is that why they call it Saw, you think?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was a short film that they made. That's
Saw 0.5 or something, 0.5.
Yeah, that's just a condensed version of it. I think it mainly is the Saw.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. And
the whole time Adam's like, don't do this, you don't gotta do this,
he's on the phone with his wife, and his wife has the guy at gunpoint and goes, where are you?
Yeah.
And he goes, what's happening? And she goes, where are you? And he goes, what's happening? And she goes, I'm confused. Yeah. And then he throws the phone.
Yeah.
And that's why he's so upset.
And he's trying to get the phone, but he can't get the phone. Mm-hmm. And Adam's like, there's got to be another way, Lawrence. There's got to be another way.
And he saws his foot off, and he opens the door and goes, I will be back for you. And then crawls out. And then that's when the other guy comes in.
Yeah.
Or the other guy comes in and goes, "Oh, he's free to go. He cut off his foot." I don't remember.
No, he comes and he says, "Too late. I gotta shoot you because those are the rules. You lost because the time passed."
Oh, right.
But then Adam throws some boomerang in his head or something. Gets the gun from him, shoots him.
He bashes his head into the back of the toilet.
Oh, right. Doesn't shoot him. Yeah, does that. And then Lawrence comes in close and he's like, "I'm going to get us help."
He died 45 seconds later.
Yeah,
probably.
exactly. Yeah, from loss of blood. And then I feel like in my head, some kind of Linkin Park song starts playing, "Jagagang, gagagang."
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, or Rage Against the Machine or something. And the guy who has been in the middle of the room with his brains blown out the whole time stands up, rips the prosthetic off his head, and goes, "You failed the game," or something like that. "I'm gonna go now." And Adam's like, "No, don't go, you bastard!" And then he shocks him. Get through the chains because that happens a couple times in the movie. They get shocked a couple times. And he's like, "You dumb bitch," or whatever, and then leaves him. He says, "Game over," I think, and slams the door or something,
Which is pretty, for 2004, it kicks ass, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, the twist of him being the dead body in the middle of the room is pretty good, and also, buying into that. Let's just say, just totally get into that world. Wow. It's a hell of a move. I mean, I know that he's a psychopath who creates, giant puzzles, but what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's insane. The mental fortitude to not move, fart, sneeze,
laugh
piss
when
a little,
touches poop.
Laugh when he touches poop, yeah. Any of that shit.
Yeah, and the Linkin Park song at the end, I want to say it's the Saw theme.
Okay.
Which I can't think of.
What's the Saw theme? Yeah, right now.
But I know it's good. It's something. It's basically the Halloween theme. It's something like bum, 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 but it's just at 1,000% with. It sounds like it's happening with a Linkin Park song also playing at the same time.
Okay. And that's pretty much Saw, right?
And it is pretty much Saw. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling about Saw now that you've seen Saw again? Now that you saw it twice.
I'd rather have seen it instead of saw it again.
Okay.
It's knowing now that it was made for $1 million in a dream. It kind of helps, but also, it didn't really hold up like I wanted it to. Is it camp? Because everybody in this movie is a bad actor, and I feel like Danny Glover's honing it in.
Yeah. I get you. It is definitely one of those things where it's in my opinion, kind of the equivalent of something like Reanimator, but for 2003 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I get that. I think there's a.
It's it reminds me of Clerks because none of the acting in Clerks is good, but I like it for it. It's different, which I think might be the definition.
What are you, shoe polish smelling motherfucker?
Exactly.
I watched a little bit of Mallrats the other day.
Oh, nice. Since Adam is played by the guy that wrote the movie.
Yeah.
And James Wan, who also wrote it, directed it.
Yeah.
I think the deal was they were like, we want to direct it and he wants to star in it. And
they were like, well, if that's the case, $1 million.
And they were like, cool, fine. I kind of feel like if they didn't, this might have been a fine movie.
Yeah.
But they did. And, it made $100 million.
Yeah.
And so now that there's a billion Saws, so I can't say if it's good or bad, but it does give it a certain flair that I don't know exactly how I feel about. So
sure.
My answer to your question after all this time now is, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I'd say I feel probably comparable to almost how I feel about something like The Conjuring, where I'm like, is this one of the best horror movies ever, like The Shining or Halloween or something? No. But, I have pretty fond memories of it. It's pretty decent. This is a pretty good pop horror film. You know? And that's kind of how I feel about Saw, although it's more impressive because, again, it's just a couple of guys who I guess were friends. I didn't know James Wan and this guy were friends. I looked up his credits.
I thought you were going to say, I didn't know James Wan had friends.
But no, he wrote the first 3 Saws, and James Wan worked on those, I think. But he also wrote 5 of the goddamn Insidious movies.
He wrote all of them, and I think he directed the 3rd one.
Yeah, so they've been locked in for a while together.
He also directed the Invisible Man movie that came out a few years ago that people seem to really like. But
I got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, and so anyways, I do have more respect for the fact that it's their little brainchild. It's a unique little thing. Whereas again, I probably like The Conjuring about as much forever, but also, like, I will say, The Conjuring does kind of get docked points for it being, like, based on, like, legitimate, like, real-life quacks.
Scam artists, yeah.
Yeah, whereas, like, Saw being, like, an original, inventive thing is, like, okay, that's probably a little bit more impressive. So how am I feeling about it? Like I said, kind of lukewarm. There's some things that I'm pretty warm about, and then other things where I'm just like, it's okay. Like, I don't... Yeah, I'm not... Again, I know I'm seeing it literally 20 years too late.
Oh, yeah.
But for the time, definitely, there's something about it that just stinks of, like, 2000, like, then 9/11 just happened, Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels so of the era in a weird way.
Yeah, we talked about this, for sure we talked about it with the remakes of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to, like, those type of movies from the early aughts that are way too over the top and, like, gritty they're so trying to be realistic and gritty that they are bombastic now, 20 years later.
Yeah.
I would say this is the most tasteful out of all of those, maybe.
Sure.
There's not a lot of gore in this movie, really. There's a lot of implied stuff,
like the
but
idea
it's
of
really
cutting
effective.
a key out of somebody's belly while they're still alive is pretty gross. The fucking razor blade thing, which I talked to you about this before. You haven't seen Suspiria, but in Suspiria, kind of the same thing happens in a much more comedic way. But in my opinion, comedic. It's because it's like kind of a punchline after a long bit of a woman struggling to, like, get up on boxes and get through a window while someone's, like, jiggling the door trying to get in. It goes on for like 2 minutes, and then she falls from the window into a bed of razor wire, which is just, like, not funny, but because the way it's set up, it works almost like a joke does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was actually thinking about this today. The Suspiria remake, which I know you haven't seen.
Yeah, here it gets people say it's pretty decent, though.
Yeah, I hear people say it's pretty good, and also it's like it is and isn't like a beat for beat remake, and like it like from what I can remember, I remember one person saying this, like, oh yeah, if like you really think about it or like kind of watch them next to each other, it's like, oh yeah, no, this is the same movie again, but it's kind of hard to like recognize on first watch. I was thinking maybe we do an episode where you watch the original and I watch the new one, and then we compare notes.
Why wouldn't we do it the other way? I haven't seen the new one.
Yeah, but then you had seen both of them.
Because then we're pure.
Yeah, exactly.
I get you. Yeah. Well, I'm giving it a C+.
I'm going to give it...
Saw.
I'm going to give it a Saw... E? Solid C.
Solid C?
Can
Well...
Can I tell you a great Saw joke that I thought of?
Yeah.
But I don't think is that strong, so I might cut it out.
Let's get it.
When she's got the bear trap on her head?
Yeah.
And he's like, think of it like a reverse bear trap.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's cool. I know exactly what that means. And then he's like, the key to the lock is inside of that man's stomach. Think of it like a picnic basket.
That's good.
Thank you.
It's good.
It's getting cut. Anyway.
Thunderball.
We watched Thunderball as well.
Yeah, how'd you feel about it?
I've heard that this is like the worst one.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad.
No, I didn't think it was that bad either. I mean, it's about as good as what I've seen to this point.
It's too long.
Okay.
And too much water, which I think is the common complaints.
Yeah.
But besides that, this one just is off and running immediately, and like even though a lot of the action happens underwater and is slow because of that, I feel like there's a lot more happening in this movie than the other ones.
Yeah.
So I'll give it that. What did you think about Thunderball?
Like I said, I thought it was about as good as as these 60s, 70s kind of, or 60s, I guess, 60s Bond movies have been so far. If I had to pick a favorite, I think I'm still going From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
But this one, let's see. Off and running in the beginning, but what is happening in the beginning?
I made you do it last time. I'm going to do it this time. Because last time I was like,
Go ahead.
I want to see what if you... And you just...
But I'm going to...
You nailed it.
I'm going to check you, though, so...
So I was going to say...
I'm watching.
Yeah, perfect. I was going to say, you check me because you seem to know watch these movies better than I do. Okay, so I want to say we start at a funeral.
Yes, whose, though? Not to quiz you, I literally don't know. Yeah, okay.
JB are the initials on the casket because I was like, is James dead?
Yeah.
And then immediately someone's like, he has your initials. And James Bond goes, he does, doesn't he? Or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. Or like, oh, don't you wish you could have killed him? I'm just happy he's dead. I don't know. And so then a funeral's happening. And then James Bond goes to another building with a big gravel driveway. You pointed that out.
Wonderful. Loved it. Yeah.
I feel like the only reason a rich person with a big mansion like that has a gravel driveway is that so their servants have something to clean because their cars get all dusty.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking around in that house, and then the widow gets out of the car, but she opens her own door, and so James Bond goes, "That's a guy." And the widow comes in with a veil on, and James Bond goes, "What's up, Dick? I know you're a man." And then they fight, and he fights that guy dressed like a man, and he hits him real hard. And so then he goes to like resort hospital. Is that a thing?
It's a health spa.
Oh yeah, that's the word for sure. He goes to a health spa where he hits
recuperating it. It's called Shrublands.
Ooh, he's at Shrublands. And, of course, he's hitting on his doctor, and she's not having it, of course. And so she straps him
So
in.
really quick, before you finish the strapping up, remember you're at the strapping up. Just to fill you in, because I didn't get any of this. He killed Spectre assassin Jacques Bouvard, who had faked his death at his chateau.
Oh, he's JB!
Yeah, and notices Lippy's present and keeps him under observation, discovering Daryl's body. Wait a second. After killing, whatever. Anyways, continue. So yeah, she straps him in the machine.
She straps him into like the buttfuck 9000 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
It's the most embarrassing thing I've seen happen to a person. It's a traction
How
machine.
come every time that we watch these movies, we're like the disrespect?
Oh my god, these movies are so disrespectful to anyone you can think of. They disrespect.
But so often it's James Bond.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh man, this guy's really misogynistic and he's kind of racist, and I don't like him. He's really disrespectful to everybody, and so they at least make sure to pull his pants down at least once.
Yeah,
a movie.
every movie he's gonna get a pie in his face and he's gonna get raped. He's gonna do a rape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a traction machine because he hurt his side, so she's like, this will stretch out your spine or something.
Yeah, whatever. That's for sure a machine that actually existed in the 60s that they thought actually did something.
And his next door neighbor at the resort is the Invisible Man, and I think he comes in and goes, I'll set the BF 9000 to the BF 20,000 and turns it all the way up, and it almost kills him. He blacks out. He's getting fucked so hard by it. Yeah. And then the doctor comes back, and she's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry." And he goes, "You gotta fuck me or I'll tell your boss." And she's like, "Fine." And then he pushes her butt up against the glass in the glass room, I guess. And then he just kind of fucks around there for a while, from what I can remember. And, like, people are trying to attack him and, like, switching faces and stuff like that. And it doesn't really... He doesn't feel the need to tell anyone that any of this is happening.
Yeah, he's just observing.
He's just
gathering data, some intel.
And he's, like... He's having sex with people and just, like, fucking around. And, yeah, a Metal Gear 5 happens where a guy switches faces with another guy who's a pilot. And then they gas him. And then some goons show up and they help a lady with a large bust. And she's like, "We are gassing people," and they gas the guy and change his face, and then they bring in the guy in a red sheet.
This last 45 seconds, I'd love to see you try to like match up the image of what you're talking about from the film.
Yeah, I will, yeah. And
so I don't fully follow, but okay.
And then they bring in a dead guy under a red tarp for some reason instead of just like a normal colored one. And James Bond's like, "Well, I can see that from a mile away, so I'm going to check it out." And he does. And then he pulls the fire alarm like a little scamp for some reason. And then he's like, "All right, I should probably go to work now."
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Spectre are having a meeting where people are getting blown up in chairs. They do the "You Are the Weakest Link." Do you remember that show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do that, but they blow up and then fall into a hole. And then they have the best boardroom I've ever seen some bad guys have, because instead of a boardroom table, they have a runway so you can monologue and walk up and down it. It's great. And so Catman, what's his name? Blofeld, is like, number two's got some shit to say. And he tells us the plot of this movie, which is we're going to steal nukes.
Yes.
And then ransom them.
Two big of them. Two big ones.
Two big ones that say "handle like eggs," which I liked quite a bit.
Yeah. I will say in this section, it's like he's like, "Johnson, how much have you made?" And he's like, "We've been turning out old women's pockets for spare change. We've made $13. And he's like, good. He's like, "Roberto, how much have you made?" And he's like, "Well, in America, we're fighting the Chinese heroin cartel with our own heroin, and we've made $28 million. He's like, "That is not enough money." And he's like, Well, it's very competitive, and also inflation is a thing, and it's just, kind of tough out there. And he's like, yes, but even considering that, you should have made at least 32 million or something. The first number was like a couple 100,000 yen or something.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that like that guy said like, oh yeah, like 100,000 yen or something, and then he's like, 3 or 13 million or whatever, and he's like, not good, buddy. And then so then Big Dick McGee comes up and he says, what if we stole 2 nukes for $280 million? And Donald Pleasance gets a big boner over that movie idea, so much of a boner that they make a movie out of it.
Oh man, I didn't know you knew it was Donald Pleasance, and I think he shows up in the next one. I was gonna be so excited. And yeah, feel free to stop me whenever.
I just wanted to stop you just for the sake of the fact that I just remember them giving their little spiels.
Yes, please
interrupt me. It was very funny. Like, I just like the idea of like having your hand in all this shit where they're just like, yeah, we're kind of in China a little bit, messing around with this. We're in America doing this. And because I was thinking about like if you ran like a crime cartel, you'd have to start making your money probably off of like drugs and like prostitution. But then eventually, if you were doing good enough, like kind of like a Facebook Mafia game, you could be like, yeah, let's try to steal 2 nukes and make $250 million, bro.
Yeah, part of our name is terrorism and extortion, and we got to start. All this drug stuff's cool, but we got to start living up to our actual name.
Exactly. Yeah, like we did all that to kind of fund enough money to get a guy because like I'm not trying to be a dick or a nitpicker, but would it not be perhaps cheaper to just pay off that pilot than to like do all the face swapping and sending that guy to like a. Like, for sure, you could be like, listen, buddy.
Yeah.
Because either way, they're just going to kill him. They kill him.
Yeah, they kill the guy with the new face. Yeah. That's a great point, because I feel like the reason you would do that is for the utmost secrecy.
Yeah.
So that guy that you paid off can't spill the beans.
Yeah.
But they immediately call MI6 and go, what's up? It was us. So there was no reason to do any of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Continue.
It was theatrical. But yeah, I was going to say, please interrupt me because I don't want to just ramble the whole time.
Sure, yeah.
So James Bond shows up late for a meeting.
Yeah, that's the big room with all the 00 agents. I have a question for you. I know you haven't seen every James Bond movie, but how often do you see the other 00 agents?
I want to say, I feel, I don't know, I probably more often than I'd think. But I feel like never. I can't even picture the ones that were in this movie.
I'm going to read this to you. The novel Moonraker establishes that the section routinely has 3 agents concurrently. The film series in Thunderball establishes a minimum number of 9 00 agents active at any time, or at that time. In the first novel, Casino Royale, the 00 concept is introduced.
When
and
you have 2 confirmed
Bond
kills.
Means that you have to have killed a chap in cold blood in the course of some asylum. Yeah, okay. Was awarded to him because he twice killed in fulfilling of his assignment.
Yep. And then I think in like the newest one, the movie starts and he's retired, and so someone else is 007.
Okay.
It's fun.
Per Fleming's Moonraker, 00 agents face mandatory retirement at 45. So I'm gonna read more about this later. This is interesting. The lore here. Let's see just really quick. I'm just going to read this one because this one's interesting. Fleming himself only mentions 5 00 agents in all. According to Moonraker, James Bond is the most senior of 3 agents. The 2 others were 008 and 0011. Interesting.
That's very funny. 9 and 10 died.
Yeah. The 3 men share an office and a secretary named Lolia Ponsonby. This is crazy.
Moneypenny's way more
Listen
funny.
to this. Loelia. That's the first name. Loelia.
Lolia, sure.
Lolia. Ponsby. Later novels feature 2 more 00 agents.
Ponsby sounds familiar. Yeah, I think that's correct.
009 is mentioned in Thunderball. 006 is mentioned in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Other authors have established and expanded on the 00 agents. While they presumably have been sent on dangerous missions as Bond has, little has been revealed about most of them. So that's all I'm going to read for now. Let's go on.
I forgot about the lore about Thunderball itself.
Oh, I'm so fucking sorry. It just lists right here 00 agents. 006, unnamed. 007, James Bond. 008, Bill.
That's like... I can't get over. People are so excited about Dune.
Yeah.
That guy seems Paul. The main character of Dune's name is Paul.
That's true, but so is Paul McCartney's name.
That's true.
Also Paul,
but he also doesn't fight sandworms.
That's true.
I forgot. I told you. Ooh, I'd save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
We watched Thunderball, but we have to watch this movie twice. That whole thing, because of the lore behind like the movie. Ian Fleming wrote Thunderball originally as like a script or a teleplay to be made for TV, like an original James Bond thing to be done on TV, like before Dr. No even happened. And he wrote it with a guy named Kevin McClory, I believe.
Okay,
that's how you pronounce it. And then that got scrapped, and it never ended up happening. And then he just turned Thunderball into a book by himself. And then when they made Thunderball, this movie, that dude was like, hey, I wrote fucking Thunderball. Give me money for Thunderball. I think what ended up happening is they were like, okay, yeah. They settled out of court and gave him a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, for the next 10 years, you can't touch Thunderball, okay?
Okay.
Because they were like, this isn't going to be going on for another 10 years. It's fucking James Bond, not knowing that it'd be around for a billion years.
Yeah.
And then so 10 years passed, and he was like, sick, it's the 80s, I'm making Thunderball again.
Okay.
And I believe Roger Moore was James Bond at the time.
Yeah.
And I think how it shook out in his lawsuit is that he had the rights to anything that was in this book. Correct. Never say never again. You're spoiling it for yourself, buddy.
Okay, continue.
Am I not doing a great job?
No, I was
counting the tale.
I didn't read anything. I just wanted to find it
because I also have it pulled up. So yeah, he just had the rights to use everything, like James Bond, Inspector, and that's why after those 10 years were up, Spectre and Blofeld are never mentioned again in any of the James Bond movies because like legally they couldn't, and because of a lawsuit that lasted until I think like 2015.
Wow.
From like 1960 until 2015.
It's like the Friday the 13th thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that, yeah. And so in the 80s, he was like, cool, I'm just going to make my own James Bond movie. And he was like, Sean Connery apparently got treated like dog shit making these movies. Like his contract never got renegotiated, and he made like nothing for every single movie while everyone else kept making more and more and more movies. And I think that's why he eventually quit.
Yeah.
And had just like a real bad relationship with the producers. So when this guy was making his knockoff James Bond, he was like, hey, Sean Connery, want to come back as James Bond? He's like, oh yeah, that would make those guys so mad. Absolutely, I'll do it. And apparently, yeah. And so what, 1983?
Yes.
Never Say Never Again came out at the same time as Octopussy, I want to say.
And guess what? They made a bucket of money still.
They made a bucket of money still, and apparently it's a tough watch. And we really need to, when we get there, need to make the decision on whether or not we're going to watch this one.
That's what I was exactly what I was gonna ask you for. Is should we watch it now or should we watch it?
I think
around
chronologically.
Octopussy?
I think chronologically would be fun.
Okay, then let's do it that way. What's the next movie we're supposed to watch?
You Only Live Twice in the Daylight. No, You Only Live Twice or something like that. It's the one that happens in Japan, so it's real racist. Whoa. You Only Live Twice, yeah.
I'm not looking forward to the racism, but I love Japan.
Oh, it's out of control racist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this poster, and just already, like, this is screaming to me.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be pretty.
Chris, would you be surprised that a movie set in Japan, a lot of the Japanese actors are white people?
I'd be pretty surprised, honestly, yeah. But I guess since it was made in 1967, I can't be that surprised.
So anyway, MI6 goes, now that all agents are here, it's time for Operation Thunderball.
And then a guy goes, Thunderball! Until he passes out.
We get the weakest theme song, I think, so far, if you'd agree.
Yeah. How do you feel about Billie Eilish's?
I like it. I know people aren't a fan,
heard it.
but I like it.
I never heard it.
There's just no time to die.
There's just no time to die.
You nailed it. Yeah, that's exactly how it goes.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much. And so James Bond's flipping through some pages or whatever. Like, and
he recognizes a lady he fucked.
He recognizes a lady he fucked. Oh yeah, they're like, yeah. If you got our message that we want this money for the bombs, at 6 o'clock, Big Ben will ring 7 times. And I'm like, I feel like that would be quite the task to accomplish by tomorrow.
In my head, they sent a guy up there with a hammer to just hit it one more time.
Yeah, probably. That's probably exactly what happened. And they're like, fuck, okay, well, I guess we'll ring that bell tomorrow. But in the meantime, James Bond, nobody else that was in this room. Apparently, these other 00s who had to be in this mission briefing, they're not part of the mission. You have to go out here by yourself. The guy who was late for the meeting, we're sending you.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, like, they talk about their assignments. So I'm assuming they're, like, spreading out and, like, following as many leads as possible.
Okay. I just remember everyone opening their folders at the same time.
Yeah, but it's, and I do like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I like that they open the folders at the same time, but it's the messiest pile of loose things I've ever seen.
I'm going to say two things now. One of my favorite details is later on when, like, the radio is playing and it's like, and Big Ben today at 6 o'clock struck 7 times, an anomaly that hasn't occurred since 1891. Authorities said that it was a simple, like, engineering mishap. What a fun little thing, huh? Like on the radio.
I do. I like that, yeah.
And the other thing I'd like to say is, can I remember it? Is it in there somewhere? Fuck it, run it. I'll remember it in a second, probably.
And so James Bond goes to the beach.
Bahamas?
Sure. The Bahamas. Meanwhile, different face guy, killed himself landing the bombs at the bottom of the ocean, and the inspector came and took it. And so James Bond is on a boat with another female agent.
Oh, yeah, can we back up? Let's back up to the boat. I like that the whole operation, because those guys get gassed through their little masks, and the guys, like, swim out to the ocean, and they take the handle with care bombs, and they swim them back or whatever, but then I also like that giant, like, camouflage thing they pull over the...
Yes, this one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. Feels like I think it's a great, like, what the fuck do they call it? Like the perfect crime scene, like the whole time just like...
Yeah. And no one was ever the wiser.
Exactly. I'm like, damn, they pulled it off.
But they didn't know that our best friend Jim would be there.
Yeah, too bad.
And so Jim's like, I'm gonna go try to fuck this chick for some reason. Oh, she's the mistress of number 2, the eye patch man.
Yeah.
And he tells everyone that's his niece for some reason. I don't know why you have to do that. And so James Bond's like, hey, my boat broke. I'm going to leave my girlfriend here. Can I come with you? And she's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, I got an important meeting. You want to get lunch? And she's like, what about your meeting? And he's like, oh, hogwash. And so they have a meeting, and she's like, oh, my caretaker's over there. And he goes, can I meet him? And she goes, that's a weird thing for you to ask me.
Yeah.
And then, meanwhile, they're being followed by some guys. One of them turns out to be Felix Leiter, CIA agent, friend of the show, who's been in most of these movies so far, I want to say, and has been a different guy every time.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah.
Dang.
This one's my favorite so far because he's just on a beach in a very loose-fitting tuxedo, or a very loose-fitting suit.
Yeah, super nonchalant.
Oh,
doesn't stand out in a crowd at all.
Later James Bond becomes the worst spy in the world at one specific
already at this
scene.
point. I mean, you really, I brought it up, but I was like, damn, this is really starting to like clue me in on like the Austin Powers joke of him being like internationally famous, but somehow a spy.
Yeah. And he becomes the worst spy in the world, but Felix definitely gives him a run for his money because he's the most conspicuous man in a full suit on the beach. And then later he's
the man who like people are like, well, I saw a UFO last night, and then the men in black were across the street smoking a cigarette.
Exactly, but if one of them looked hungover on the beach reading a newspaper. And then later, like during that fake Mardi Gras parade, he's trying to get James Bond's attention, and he's literally just waving his arms with a towel in the air.
About that Mardi Gras, apparently it's called Junkanoo, something like that.
That's fun.
It's a festival, which was... They do refer to it as a Mardi Gras, their own little Mardi Gras. Originated during the period of African chattel slavery in the British American colonies. It is practiced most notably in Jamaica, the Bahamas, and Belize, and historically in North Carolina and Miami, where there are significant settlement of West Indian people during the... Can't read the rest of that, but...
What's it called?
It's like Junkanoo.
Love that. That's way better than Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
And they also have I know we're not there yet in the movie, but we both loved that they had a Marlboro cigarettes float.
They did, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
And Superman was there. It was great. It seemed like a fun time. I'd like to join.
Your two favorite things. But before we get into that, I do want to say we were just talking about, him being the worst spy. Yeah, because again, I mean, we're 4 movies deep. And again, I'm blue-pilled on this. I don't know what's up. I'm sure people have made this jokes a million times. Austin Powers made this joke a million times, I guess. But yeah, literally everybody he meets, he's just like, yeah, the name's Bond. James Bond.
Yeah, he says it twice to make sure you got it.
Exactly, but it's like, everybody.
Every single person, yeah.
Every single person he interacts with. Doesn't even matter if he's in the Bahamas on assignment, a.k.a. a spy who should be hiding his identity. No, just everybody in the world. He's like, yeah, my name is James Bond. Like, he's 4 huge assignments deep. And I think he's ran into Spectre a couple of times. And still, every time he meets a Spectre agent, he's like, the name's James Bond. You sure have a Spectre hanging over your shoulder.
Oh my god, yeah, that happens like almost right now in the movie. But when he plays poker with that guy, and he's like, mind if I spectate this game, sir? It's just like the least clever shit I've ever seen. But like in Casino Royale, the first Daniel Craig one, and I feel the same way about that movie that I do The Dark Knight. I think they're both great at what they did, but they also kind of ruin movies for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Where they're too clever for their own good, where every movie now that's like a remake of something old has to be like, let's find a clever, grounded way to make this silly thing work.
Yeah.
But I really
kind of like how Matrix made everything green.
Exactly. James Bond and Vesper Lynn go to the hotel that they're supposed to go to where like the mission's going to take place, and they have fake names and aliases and stuff like that, and she's like, and you're whatever, and I'm a history teacher, and you do this and that, and these are our names, okay, we're getting married, and yada yada. And James is like, got it, great. And they go up to the front desk of the hotel, and he goes, Vesper Lynn and James Bond here, we're going to need a room.
Nice.
And she goes, what's the matter with you? And he goes, they know we're here. It like he's Mads Mikkelsen. He's the scariest, super smart guy in the world.
Yeah.
They know that the two of us are here and we're playing in this poker game. So why we don't need to remember all that shit. I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's great. And then for the next 10 years, movie sucked.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely probably the explanation to some degree. Like, you know, like obviously like there's a scene where like the assassin tries to kill him and he's like, no, don't kill that man. I want you to run back to your boss and tell him you got spanked like a little boy on your little boy butt.
Yeah.
And then that guy throws him into a pool full of sharks. But anyways.
Love it. Comeuppance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's playing Baccarat, right?
Mr. Burke Baccarat?
He's playing.
Is that what you're talking about?
Burke Baccarat?
What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Yeah, he's got that.
You know that scene from Austin Powers?
Yeah.
Even when I was a kid, like every time that hit, I don't know why, I was always like, wow, why do I suddenly want to die? Like I was so, it made me so sad. I don't know why it always made me so sad.
I almost did a real life spit take all over these electrical tools right here. But no, I'm talking about the card game Baccarat.
Okay.
Which I think is the card game that you play where the person has the big paddle and they bon oui, and they say that over again.
And he goes 9, and then he goes 10, and everybody goes, oh.
Ooh, and then he goes 11, and James Bond doesn't even look at his cards. He goes 12, and everyone goes, ooh. Yeah. And his lady goes, you said you're gonna buy me a drink, and James.
What's her name?
Domino.
Good. Yeah.
She's my favorite lady.
She's the only one not called Jugs McJiggle.
Exactly. Her name's not Jugs McJiggles, and she does shit in this movie. I like her. I like her quite a bit. She's my favorite Bond girl so far.
Yeah.
But let's go. Hey.
The name's Nipples. Nipples Tease.
But Nipples, 2 of them. Hey, Chris, let's be the change we want to see in the world. From now on, they're
Sarah
Bond.
2 nipples.
It's
always boobs.
Anyways. From now on, they're Bond women. All right.
There we go. Yeah.
She's my favorite Bond woman so far.
Yeah.
And I don't understand this at all. She goes, you said you were going to buy me a drink. I want a drink. And James goes, could I buy her a drink? And he goes, oh, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. And then they go on a date. I'm like, why? Maybe it's just the 60s and I don't understand. Can you imagine that scenario in real life ever where your girlfriend goes, you said you're going to buy me a drink, and another guy goes, I'll do it. And you go, oh, yeah, please, thank you.
Yeah.
Like
that's not happening.
And then he comes and they're dancing and he's like, hey, what the fuck's going on here? It's like, what do you mean?
What do you think is going on here?
And he goes, what's up with that big boat? And she goes, that's my husband, boss, uncle's boat.
He keeps saying Guardian. She keeps saying Guardian.
Yeah, it's my Guardian's boat. It's called the Disco Volante.
Which, as soon as someone says that to me, I go, okay. Are you? I don't mean this offensively, but are you okay?
Yeah, if you have a Guardian. Hey, you're over the age of 18.
Yeah, you're like 27, 32, saying you got a Guardian. What's going on? You all right?
Yeah, you're not doing things of your own accord, I feel.
Yeah, what's going on there?
And I don't remember where we go from here.
They're on the date.
they're on the date. They're dancing. He goes, "Are you going to be here tomorrow so we can smash?" And she's like, "Oh, James." And then Eye Patch comes and goes, "Hey, I'm fucking taking my lady and getting on my boat and getting out of here."
Sure. Well, there's a bunch of other stuff that we're kind of glossing over. Like, there's the lady with red hair. Who like blew up that car with her motorcycle and then pushed it into a pond.
I totally forgot about that scene. Yeah.
She like lives in the hotel next to James Bond, and she's kind of seducing him a bit, and then they do fuck later. But then she also attacks James Bond's friend, the lady friend.
Mm-hmm. The other
she dies, and he sneaks in to like get some intel.
Yeah, that's right. She killed her friend, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna bang her anyway."
Yeah.
I think he bangs every woman he meets in this movie. Yeah.
He's 3 deep, but did he have sex with his friend in the blue dress?
I don't know.
Maybe not her.
It's implied.
Okay. So yeah, so that's, and so does anything happen at that point, like with that kind of shit? Because there's that one point where he gets a late night drive home from her and she's speeding.
Yeah.
That's the thing that happens.
Yeah, and it's like, oh wow, we're at the same hotel. Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so yeah, at some point, I don't remember how he gets there or why, but he shows up at Eye Patch's house and just kind of invites himself in.
Okay.
And they're standing by his pool, and then his little freaks come out.
Yeah.
And they're my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
There's the guy with the sunglasses, who's a pervert for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's the guy who is a guy.
Yeah, like the guy looks like he lives off beef jerky and light beer.
Yeah, like there's no way this man is an actor.
No.
This man
He's a husband. That's all he is.
This man
may have children, but he's a husband.
This man hung lights on the set of Thunderball, and they went, "We need another guy. Get in here. Put on a black t-shirt and stand next to the freak." Which, I call him a pervert, but I think they say at some point in this movie, they're like, "He doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, he doesn't have sex. We don't know what he does.
Yeah.
He just kills," or something like that.
Ooh.
So he's my favorite part of this movie.
Mamma mia.
And so James Bond's like, "Show me your house." And he's like, "Check it out. I got sharks." I guarantee you a lot of underwater stuff has happened that we're just skipping by because it's hard to remember.
It's hard to remember. It's a little boring, but I'm not that mad at it. I think it does look pretty good, and it's definitely impressive for the time. But
for sure, but also there's too much of it. At one point, they have their little hideout that's like seems to be under a dock or something like that. And Q shows up and goes,
"Can you please cut this?"
Yeah.
I saw a picture of Ian Fleming, and I almost wanted to call him, like, when I was going to, because I was going to be like, he died in 1963, or whatever. He's only lived to be, like, 56. Yeah.
Yeah, he also, a huge piece of shit, apparently.
Yeah.
Wore that blue terry cloth jumpsuit that James Bond had in the last one that we loved. Apparently that's just something he wore all the time.
Okay.
And wrote on a gold typewriter because he had the money.
Wow.
He was a huge piece of shit.
Speaking of, I didn't know this, but fucking apparently the Hells Angels, if you're a black dude, not allowed.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. But he was a heavy smoker, heavy drinker throughout his adult life. He died from heart disease, had a heart attack at 53 and struggled to recuperate. And so anyways, just continue.
He also hated women, hated lesbians, but was fascinated by them. They show up quite a bit in his books.
Interesting.
And James Bond turns them straight, I think.
Was he gay?
No.
In real life?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I'm just curious
because
like there's this picture of this man that says Hoagie Carmichael, whose look Fleming described for Bond when people asked what Bond looked like. He said Hoagie Carmichael, apparently, according to this caption.
Okay.
That's what he saw when he saw Bond.
And so he showed him his sharks, and he's like, "Damn, that's crazy." And then he comes back at night, and this is where he just, like, drops his pants and falls and drops his gun and shit like that, you know? He sneaks up on a guy and pulls his legs out from under him like it happened to him in the last movie, so I like that quite a bit. At one point, he just stands, like, the guards are like, "Oh, fuck, there's a dude here." And so James Bond just stands up and shoots and then ducks, and they all start shooting each other, which was wild. And then he crawls up on a little roof and drops his gun and goes, "Ah, shucks." And they capture him, and they're like, "All right, we're throwing you in with the sharks." And then so they put the cover over the pool and then release the sharks. And he gets away because he swims through another pool, and he's got... Oh, I went past him meeting Q. Oh, yeah, I'm remembering a lot of stuff I forgot. He meets with Q, and Q's like, 007, he's a camera, it works underwater. He's a watch, it works underwater. He's just a bunch of normal stuff, and they all work underwater, basically. My favorite one is the camera. He's like, it shoots 8 photographs in rapid succession. It's just like, and he says that, and it's like, well, that's kind of lame. And my favorite part of this movie is he says that, and James Bond goes, and this is supposed to be clever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love that. That's fucking. That's so funny. And then he gives him like a pill that tracks him, I think. I don't know. And then James Bond goes to another boat and takes pictures of a hatch at the bottom of it, and they just start throwing grenades at him because they see him immediately. You know what I'm talking about?
Something like that.
He's in the orange wetsuit. I'm really losing it at this point. I think at this point I was like, I don't think this movie's that bad. And you went, how much time we got left on this bad boy? And it was an hour, and I was like, I don't like this movie anymore.
Yeah.
And so he's just finding stuff that's leading him to places, and he kind of figures out the plan and goes, there's probably a boat down here covered in a mesh tarp that Chris thinks is really cool, and admittedly so does Nick.
Yeah.
And so James Bond and Felix Leiter go there on their helicopter, and they land on water. Also, I don't care how many times I see him. If you put me in a plane and go, this helicopter can make a landing on water, I do not believe you. I don't know how that technology works, but I don't trust it. And so they're sitting there, and James Bond goes, cool, there's a lot of sharks here. Kill one of the sharks. It'll distract the rest of them. And then they just kill a shark in this movie.
Yes.
And then later they shoot another shark with a harpoon, and they do that by just shooting real sharks with harpoons, which is buck wild.
Definitely.
Because mainly, I'd say there didn't need to be sharks in this part of the movie.
Yeah.
So you didn't need to kill a shark.
That's fair.
And he goes down to the plane and goes, nope, no nukes down there. And he comes back up, and I don't remember what happens for the rest of this movie.
I can tell you there's a big underwater harpoon fight, which I actually thought was pretty visually fun. But again, like it being like Uncharted Wild Wild West, like territory, it just felt a bit like I was watching like a silent film epic.
Yeah, kind of.
Where it's like more novelty than like anything.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? But it was visually stunning sometimes. Like the red suits with the blue and how blue the water is and stuff looked pretty good.
Especially when James Bond comes down with that weird rocket strapped to his back and swims around with that fart cloud for some reason.
Yeah. Well, we forgot in the beginning. Yeah, I can't believe you forgot the part where he escapes using a jetpack.
Oh,
to carry him like
God,
100 feet.
Christopher. He leaves a funeral with a jetpack. Yeah.
And it goes. It's the loudest thing ever. It's so slow. People are shooting at him, and you're supposed to just believe that he's not getting shot.
So funny that he puts a helmet on before he starts it too. And
because that dude, if it goes down, fuck the helmet, bro. You're done.
Bro, you're on fire.
Done.
Yeah,
you're done.
You have a rocket strapped to you, and he uses it to go down the side of the building, which is what a ladder does.
Yeah.
So he could have done that, and then he runs back to the car, and they go, how'd that go? And he went, not too bad, or something like that, and they start shooting at him, and he goes, beep, and pushes a button, and just like a metal plate comes up into the back window, which is very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did I forget
Shoot
the jetpack?
them with a hose.
Whoa.
They get hosed down.
And he got the other water jetpack, too. Oh, my God, and the hoses that came out of the back of the car.
Yeah.
How did I forget about all this? It's the most exciting part of the movie. They lied to you. They lied to you right off the bat and go, this movie's got jetpacks and metal plates and water cannons, but no, that's all underwater. And so, yeah, they have that big underwater fight, and then they get onto his boat that splits in half at one point, yeah?
That's true.
Everyone's got these cool shirts that say Disco Volante on them, and I want one. And then... Oh. He has... Oh, no. Okay, he finds... I remember, he finds the dead guy in the plane, takes his dog tags. We find out that that's Domino's brother was the pilot.
Yes.
And he goes, sorry, honey, your brother's dead, even though we just had sex. And she's like, will you kill that guy for me? And he's like, yeah, definitely. And she's like, the pervert's behind you. And he shoots him with a harpoon.
That's true. This happens, yes.
And he goes, here's my fancy underwater camera. It also detects nukes. Take that. Look for nukes for me, okay? And then Eye Patch catches her and tortures her by going, I've got hot, and holds up his cigarette. And he goes, and I've got cold, and holds up a handful of ice.
Yeah.
And he's gonna... Which I feel like, Chris, if you burn me with a cigarette, you know what I would say?
Huh.
Oh my God, please put some ice on that. So I don't know what he's trying to get at.
Yeah.
And then a nerd lets her free.
That's true.
And James...
He's like, I threw the controller for the nuclear weapon into the ocean.
Yeah, because the more and more I'm realizing it, this joke's really going to kill for potentially a person that listens to this podcast. This movie's just Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is one of my favorite shots in the...
Oh yeah, that's insane. Save that, and or I'll put it on the Insta.
Yeah.
And then so they're leaving the boat, and the nerd is like, I don't know how to swim, and James Bond pushes him overboard with a life raft and goes, better start learning, and then leaves with the girl, and they get in a raft, and then just like...
They forget the nerd.
They forget the nerd.
The nerd.
The credits roll, we don't know what happened.
I think he was a Nazi scientist also.
Oh, okay, then yeah.
Because like the Nazi scientist says something like, or the eye patch guy says to him something to the effect of like, how is this laboratory treating you or something or whatever, and he's like, it's a little bit better than the Warsaw one or something. So
okay, then yeah, fuck him.
I think this is what I remember. I also remembered that in Saw, the guy was like doing computer programming.
And so then James Bond blows up a balloon with his mouth, and it shoots up into the sky, and they get Fulton extracted, just like The Dark Knight, and just like Metal Gear Solid 5. And then there's credits, and that's Thunderball.
And what do you think of Thunderball?
I think Thunderball was okay. I'll probably never see it again if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Man, you know what's crazy? I feel like just the name From Russia with Love does a lot of the work.
Yeah.
And it's all it's got to do. Because I'll never think a movie called From Russia with Love is going to be bad. So I don't think that one's going to be topped probably for a long time.
What letter grade are you giving this bad bitch?
Oh, you want me to stop rambling?
No.
Incoherently about nothing?
Yeah.
I'd give Thunderball a C-.
Interesting. I gave it a D+.
Ooh, not bad.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I'd like to read this Reddit post I just found.
Ooh.
It says Saw 2004. I haven't read this. This has not been vetted. We're raw dogging this.
Okay.
Saw 2004. Plot hole or not? Hello there. I'm a big fan of the Saw series, and I'm currently rewatching all 9 films in anticipation of Saw X's release. Saw definitely stands out for its simplicity compared to the others. The 2 men trapped in a grimy bathroom with a dead body, yada yada yada. The test was designed for Adam to free himself from his constraints, while Dr. Gordon was chained to his corner of the room until Amanda accidentally or intentionally caused Adam's key to be flushed away, which is a different discussion altogether. Until Amanda accidentally or intentionally caused... I don't know what that part's about.
Yeah, you're spoiling it for yourself.
Okay, well, anyways. However, I've been pondering why Adam was initially changed up. If Kramer intended for him to unlock himself right from the start of the trap...
That's right, Jigsaw's name is Kramer.
What was the purpose of chaining Adam up? The only admittedly weak explanation that comes to my mind is that Kramer had him chained as a precautionary measure in case the sedative wasn't potent enough. This question has been bothering me for some time, and I'd love to hear what your opinions are. Thanks. I'm not going to read it, I guess, because it's apparently spoiling stuff about the future, but it's a nice foreshadowing for when we continue down the Saw hole.
It's 10 movies, bud.
It is a lot to sign up for, isn't it?
It really is.
So you're saying don't?
I'm leaving it up to you.
We're already on the James Bond thing. Are we going to double down? Is that an awful idea to double down?
It might be.
Okay. Because we need something to counterbalance what I see as a bit of a black hole, which is the movie being paired with a James Bond movie from the 60s every time. Because that's a niche market.
You're right. Let's do it.
You want to do it?
Let's do it. Okay.
So next week is Saw 2 and No Time to Live Twice, or You Only Live Twice?
You only live twice once in your life.
Really, what is it called?
It's You Only Live Twice.
Okay. Anything else you want to say? Closing statements, sir?
No, I don't think I really got any.
Yolt, bro. Yolt.
I don't know what that means. Oh, Yolt, you only live twice.
Can I say real quick, I saw on the news the other day that some lady who's running for the presidency is like not doing good. So the headline on CNN, what's so funny?
Old lady running for president isn't doing well. Man, who would have thought?
The scroll on CNN said, I don't know what, I can't remember. It said like Amanda's team goes YOLO mode. as like a like a Hail Mary thing.
I hope
that's like I don't
that's
like
crazy.
That.
Someone should lose their job over that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. Because it was like, is CNN saying that, or did Amanda's team say, "Fuck it, bro, YOLO mode. We're going YOLO mode."
We're hyphy for presidency. All right.
Well, that's Dallas.
Baby. Catch line.
It is. That's that Mattress Man.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. You know what? Fuck that guy. That's Dallas, baby. That's our new sign off. Fuck him.
If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,